Should you keep your old planners or should you recycle them? Today I'm sharing my opinion, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so my question for you today is, do you keep your old planners or do you let them go and recycle them? I'm going to tell you what I do, and I'm also going to give you some arguments why I think you should do the same. Of course, the choice is up to you, but this is what I've chosen to do. In this day and age, when minimalism is on a rise, people are decluttering right and left and throwing away anything that's in excess, including myself. If you've been watching my channel for the last few weeks, I've been decluttering this room. I'm sitting here in the same spot, but I have a different desk here and it's just a bit different. So I'm really enjoying the declutter, but at the same time, I am not going to get rid of my old planners. And it's not because they're all pretty and decorated and I don't want to throw away the stickers. It's more for the story. Now, you may be thinking, wait a minute, I don't write any stories, I don't journal in my planner. Okay, so just hear me out. I was a scrapbooker first before I started decorating my planners. And in the scrapbooking world, everyone is always encouraging you to tell your story, make sure your story's heard, tell your children's stories, tell your parents' stories. And that's fantastic because as humans, we not only enjoy stories, we thrive on stories. We learn from stories. Most of our entertainment comes from stories. Movies, shows, books, everything. But at the same time, scrapbooking can be the polished version of a life. You're getting the highlights. It's kind of like Instagram. Everything is a little bit too perfect. You don't see the fights, you don't see the storms, you don't see the bad things that happen for the most part in a scrapbook. Whereas when it comes to your planner, it's real and raw and there's no polishing, except for if your pages are super pretty, but the actual story, the actual things that you're planning into your planner, the things that you're writing in there, that's real. Whereas if you're telling a story, something that happened, you're going to sort of polish it off and embellish. But when you look at how you planned your day, what you were doing, all those tasks, all those checklists, even if it's just laundry. Your laundry of a mother of a newborn is not the same as the laundry you do as an empty nester. So if you have a planner from when you were a mother of a newborn and you find it when that child leaves for university, it's such a treasure. I remember when you did this, I remember when you did that, and it's all in the planner. We went to the doctor's on this day, and that's the day that you peed on the doctor. These are the rich, real stories that you can tell and you can keep in your planner. Now maybe you're thinking, this is just everyday life, this isn't exciting, this is not worth keeping. But when you think about it, wouldn't you love a peek at your grandmother's planner from 50 years ago? Wouldn't that be a rich look into what her everyday life was like? Of course she could tell you, but memories get kind of foggy as the years go by, and 50 years is a long time. So things I tell my kids now that happened to me 20 years ago may not be exactly as they happened. I'm maybe embellishing or I could have forgotten. But if I have my planner from 20 years ago, I can say, look, this is what happened. This past week here in Europe, in Canada, people were celebrating the 75th anniversary of the victory and liberation in Europe. Also, I've read a couple of books on World War II, and in one, someone discovered a diary that was written during the war, and it really gave a day-to-day account of what was happening. And it was so much more interesting than learning about the battles or the techniques of the war. It's the stories of the actual real people, the stories of everyday lives that are interesting to us and really enrich our past and our history. Imagine in 75 years from now, someone finds your planner from right now, from while you're living through this whole COVID lockdown. We're in history right now, and that's going to be really interesting for them to see a day-by-day rundown of what you're doing right now. And it's not just during a war or during a pandemic, it's everyday life. 75 years from now, everything is going to be different. That wartime diary from my book was found in a little metal tin. We don't keep things in tins as much as we used to. Everything was made out of metal. There was no plastic. Now look at how much plastic we have. In 75 years, hopefully everything with a single-use plastic and all that stuff now will be history. It's just little things like that that we don't even think about now that are really going to be interesting in the future. It's just a wonderful insight to everyday lives. So even if you don't think that your life is anything special, I can guarantee you that sometime in the future, someone is going to find your planner incredibly interesting. Before I go, I just want to talk to you about a project that I'm going to start tomorrow. It's called Week in the Life. It started years ago by Allie Edwards, and she does it every year. She picks a different date every year, different time of the year, where people can document 1 week of everyday life, make a scrapbook about it to preserve it for the future, for our own future, but also for future generations. So this year it starts tomorrow, and for the first time in a long time, I'm going to join in it. And it's all because of my friend Melissa. She's been doing it for years, and she does a digital. And this past week, she's been sharing her older albums on her Instagram account. So I will leave a link to that below. I'll also leave a link to Ellie Edwards. But basically, what it is taking more photos than usual, everyday photos that you don't think to take, journaling every day, writing down prices of things, keeping receipts and other little things that right now seem ordinary, but maybe in a few years will look different. Think back to what the Coca-Cola logo was 10 years ago, or your favorite cereal brand. Isn't it interesting when you look at an old photo and you see maybe a box of cereal or something on the table, and it's the same cereal you have on your table maybe right now, but the logo and the design of it is just that much different to make it interesting. While preparing for this week in the life, I found older notes that I had taken quite a few years ago, and it was really neat to see because I still had a baby then, and my youngest is 7 now, so I'm completely past the baby stage, but it was really neat to have a look back at, the diapers and early morning wake-ups and all that stuff. So if you're wanting to play along, you can check it out at ellieedwards.com, and she has these printables, which I've printed out, and I'm going to take my notes on these. I'm going to keep them on the counter. And on Wednesday, I'm going to show you my album and how I'm setting it up and everything that I'm putting into it as I go. And once it's finished in a couple weeks, I'll show you the flip through as well. So I'd love for you to follow along, but if that seems too much, I completely understand, because I know that other times I've just skipped it. I haven't done it in at least 5 years, so I understand. But I do encourage you to at least jot a few notes in the corners or the empty spaces in your planner of what's going on right now, because I know that someone will find that incredibly interesting in the future. If you like this video, I hope you will join me again. You can do that by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. I do videos on Sundays, a lot like this, where we have a little bit of a chat or some sort of motivation or organization, whereas my videos on Wednesday are usually paper, planner, pretty, decoration, all the fun stuff at my desk, which is right over there. In the last few weeks, I've been doing a spring clean in here, so if you want to follow that and you haven't watched it yet, you can do that right here. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever found a diary or an old letter or something that really was a treasure to you, a window to the past. You can subscribe here by clicking on my little face. Here are 2 more videos that I think you'll like. Have a fantastic day and happy planning!